Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome to yet another edition of Pantherology. This is my edition of my Week 7 report card for the Carolina Panthers. But before we get into all that, if you haven't checked out the recent video of my initial reaction to the loss to the New Orleans Saints, you need to check that video out now before watching this one. If you're new to the channel and you're a Panthers fan, this is the channel for you. Guys, if you like my content that I'm putting out there, go ahead and pound that like button, pound the subscribe button, click the notifications bell so when you know the new videos come out, and then comment down below at the end of each video and let me know what you think. Alright, so let's go ahead and get to my Week 7 report card for the Carolina Panthers. Let's dive into this bad boy. So as we all know, the Carolina Panthers fell to 3-4 yesterday after losing to the New Orleans Saints, 27-24. Now, Carolina's offense kept them in the game, but how good did they do in each aspect of the offense? Let's take a look. First things first, passing game. I gave it an A. I thought Teddy Bridgewater was on his game on Sunday versus the Saints, which was a nice bounce back game for him following last week's struggles. He finished with the game 23 for 28 for 254 yards and 2 touchdowns. And most importantly, 0 interceptions. He connected on a 74-yard bomb to DJ Moore deep down the middle of the field and led him right into the end zone. He nearly had another one later in the game, but just put it a smidge out of reach. He maneuvered well in the pocket. He avoided pressure and found the open receivers. Speaking of receivers, I thought this was the best game they've played as a unit all season long. Curtis Samuel was big on third down, while DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson were both reliable in the middle of the field and down the field. You can't ask much more from the passing game for sure. Next, the running game. I gave it an F. To me, this may have been a big reason why the Panthers could only muster up 24 points on the board. Carolina only rushed for 37 yards on 14 carries, which goes for an average of 2.6 yards per attempt. That's not going to get the job done. They became a one-dimensional offense. Mike Davis has been bottled up in back-to-back weeks, and that's going to have to change sooner than later. Next, blocking. I gave it a C. In my opinion, pass protection may look good when you see that Teddy Bridgewater was only sacked once in the loss. But there were several times where he had to escape pressure immediately. Now, despite only allowing one sack, the line didn't really allow for plays to happen down the field except for a few occasions. In the terms of the run game, there was nowhere for the backs to run. They were getting dominated up front, and very rarely did they get a major push on the Saints defensive line. Heading into Sunday's matchup with the Saints, I was expecting a lot of points would be scored. But with New Orleans being without their top 2 receivers, Michael Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders, there was some thought that maybe Carolina could limit the amount of explosive plays from the Saints. Unfortunately, that was not the case. So let's take a look how each aspect of the defense graded out. First things first, the run defense. I gave it a D. I think this was to be the Panthers' biggest area of concern through the first 6 weeks of the season, and the struggles continued in Week 7. Alvin Kamara and Latavius Murray combined for 130 yards, rushing on 25 carries, which is an average of 5.2 yards per carry. Not only were the Panthers giving up 5 yards a pop, but they also gave up some long runs too. Kamara busted for 32 yards and Murray went for 25, nearly untouched up the middle. The defensive line has to do a much better job of fitting gaps to make things easier on the linebackers. Next, passing defense. I gave it an F. I really hate giving Fs. And trust me, I tried to find where there were a couple of good things that happened in the secondary, and I just couldn't find any. It looked like a defense that was without Justin Burris and Rasul Douglas and playing a new corner, Eli Apple, for the first time. Another thing, chemistry and communication was just not at the level it has been, and having those two guys out of the lineup was a major blow. Drew Brees was able to pick apart that Carolina secondary with a bunch of guys that typically don't get a whole lot of playing time, as he finished his day 29 for 36 for 287 yards and 2 touchdowns. The dude couldn't miss. Next, pressure. I gave it a D. The only thing from me not giving this an F was Brian Burns' sack fumble of Drew Brees that was recovered by the Carolina defensive end, Marquise Haynes. Now, aside from that, Brees was comfortable in the pocket all day long, which was why he was so effective throwing the ball. 1 sack, 2 quarterback hits versus the Saints isn't going to cut it. Defensive coordinator Phil Snow may have to start bringing more than 3 or 4 guys, but that's going to leave guys like Eli Apple and Troy Pride Jr. on an island, which may not be a good idea. Somehow, they've got to find ways to generate more pressure. It can't just be the Brian Burns show. So guys, that is my week 7 report card for the Carolina Panthers. Let me know what you think. If you like what I put out there, go ahead and pound that like button, pound the subscribe button, comment down below, let me know what you think. And Panther Nation, keep pounding.